Justin Trudeau's Liberals tried to keep important documents out of our hands about the Heritage Ministry's dealings with the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. But the Information Commissioner just intervened. Today, I'll show you what we were asking for, what the Information Commissioner has to say about it, and how you can help us. I'm happy to report a small victory against Justin Trudeau's government, his very secretive government. Today's story was made possible through your generous crowdfunded donations to our Access to Information filing fund at rebelinvestigates.com. This special filing fund is very important to me. It funds a lot of my work. I wouldn't be able to do any of this important accountability journalism without your support. So thank you in advance. Do you know who the Canadian Anti-Hate Network is? Maybe some of you have even run afoul of them for wrongthink on the internet. They claim to be a research organization which documents far-right extremism and anti-Semitism and racism and radicalism here in Canada. It's a neat little game, however, that they have going. You see, they are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by the federal government to call the enemies of Justin Trudeau all manner of nasty names. Let's just stop and square this circle for a second. The Canadian Anti-Hate Network, a bunch of far-left radical activists, they receive money from Justin Trudeau to call normal Canadians who object to Justin Trudeau extremists. And then Justin Trudeau cites the Canadian Anti-Hate Network as experts who have uncovered evidence that Canadians are extremists. Do you see how that works? The Canadian Anti-Hate Network activists are self-described experts, often quoted in the mainstream media as experts on extremism. But I think the phone call might be coming from inside the house. They'll call you names, then they'll go on TV and call you names there, and then that becomes proof that you are the name that they called you. And it's all paid for by Justin Trudeau. But they're the extremists. The Canadian Anti-Hate Network recently received a judgment against them in a lawsuit involving journalist Jonathan Kay and his mom, Barbara. You see, the pair had said the Canadian Anti-Hate Network was linked to Antifa. And wouldn't you know it, a Superior Court judge in Ontario sided with the Kays. The judge ruled that the Canadian Anti-Hate Network's own evidence suggested that they were part of the Antifa movement and its, quote, muscular resistance and physical disruption. And back in June of last year, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network received $268,000 from the Anti-Racism Action Program of Canadian Heritage to document and expose Canadian hate groups, which means Justin Trudeau, like I said before, is giving your money to not just any old extremist, though, to an Antifa-linked group to call you names so that he can use them as experts when Justin Trudeau goes on TV and calls you names. Justin Trudeau is giving your money to Antifa radicals. Now, when Rebel News filed for access to information regarding the Heritage Ministry's communications with the Canadian Anti-Hate Network about all that funding through the Anti-Racism Action Program, we received back heavily redacted email exchanges. We felt that there were no real reasons for these redactions, and so we filed an appeal. In fact, it would even seem the Canadian Anti-Hate Network didn't object to giving us the unredacted versions of those documents, but rather the Heritage Ministry was objecting. But the Information Commissioner, upon appeal, sided with us. Here's from her ruling. On May 29th, 2023, the Commissioner issued her final report to the Minister of Canadian Heritage, setting out her intention to order the Minister to disclose the information on page 38 that was withheld. So we're going through that information now, but none of this was cheap. It's time consuming and the government knows that. That's why they do this. The government knows we're not subsidized by Justin Trudeau like the rest of the mainstream media. We rely on you at home. So if you'd like to offset the cost of our filing and appeal and now review of these important documents to hold the government to account so that we can show you what the government is doing with your money behind closed doors by giving it to Antifa-linked groups, please consider making a donation at rebelinvestigates.com. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you'd like to make a donation to offset my research and filing costs to expose what the government is doing with your money behind closed doors with some pretty radical people, please consider making a donation at our special investigations website, rebelinvestigates.com. And thanks in advance to everybody who donates to make this important work possible.